The crystal chandeliers of Belmore Estate cast prismatic light across the Italian marble floors as I followed my sister Vanessa through the grand entrance. My mother walked between us, her designer handbag swinging with each purposeful step. I'd made the mistake of mentioning I was also looking at wedding venues, and Vanessa had insisted I join her tour to see what a real wedding looks like. This is 20,000 square feet of pure elegance, the event coordinator, Patricia, explained as she guided us through the ballroom. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooked manicured gardens that stretched toward a private lake. We can accommodate up to 300 guests for a seated dinner. Vanessa clutched her fiancé Trevor's arm, her engagement ring catching the light with calculated precision. It's perfect. Absolutely perfect. This is exactly the kind of venue that matches our status. I ran my fingers along the silk wallpaper, remembering the hours I'd spent in these rooms over the past 3 years. The scent of imported roses from the arrangements I'd personally approved last week filled the air. The deposit is $15,000, Patricia continued, pulling out her tablet. The full venue rental for a Saturday evening is $85,000, not including catering, florals, or... We'll take it, Vanessa interrupted, not even glancing at the price sheet. Trevor's promotion means money isn't an issue. We want the first Saturday in June. Mom beamed with pride. My successful daughter marrying a corporate attorney. This is exactly the wedding you deserve, darling. I smiled softly, studying the chandelier I'd had restored 6 months ago. The original had been damaged in a storm, and I'd spent 2 weeks finding the perfect replacement crystals in Prague. Elena, why are you even here? Vanessa's voice cut through my thoughts. You can't possibly be considering this venue for your little wedding. I'm just looking, I said quietly. David and I want to explore all our options. Vanessa laughed, the sound echoing off the vaulted ceiling. Options? Sweetheart, this venue costs more than your annual salary. What do you make as a bookkeeper? 40,000? 50. Vanessa, I said gently. No, seriously. She turned to Patricia with an exaggerated sympathetic expression. My little sister works in accounting for some small firm downtown. She's marrying a public school teacher. I mean, it's sweet, but this, she gestured around the ballroom, this is for people who've actually built something. Mom nodded in agreement. Elena, honey, you need to be realistic about your budget. There are plenty of nice community centers that rent for a few $100s. Some of them even have working air conditioning. Patricia shifted uncomfortably, glancing at me with an expression I couldn't quite read. Perhaps we should continue the tour? We moved through the estate, and with each room Vanessa's commentary became more pointed. In the bridal suite, she ran her hand over the velvet settee. Can you imagine getting ready in here, Elena? Oh wait, you probably can't. Your entire apartment would fit in this room. The gardens were next, where a white gazebo stood beside the lake. This is where I'll have my ceremony, Vanessa declared. 300 guests watching as I marry the man of my dreams in the most exclusive venue in the state. It's certainly beautiful, I offered. Beautiful. Mom scoffed. It's magnificent. And completely out of your league, Elena. I don't know why you insisted on coming. This is Vanessa's day. I invited her, Mom, Vanessa said with false sweetness. I wanted Elena to see what success looks like. Maybe it'll motivate her to be more ambitious. Trevor, who'd been largely silent, finally spoke. The venue is impressive. When Patricia mentioned the owner rarely makes public appearances, I have to wonder if the quality matches the reputation. Patricia's professional smile never wavered. I assure you, Mr. Pearson, Ms. Williams maintains the highest standards personally. Every detail of this estate reflects her vision and dedication. I caught the slight emphasis on my surname but said nothing. We returned to the main office, a sun-drenched room with restored antique furniture and fresh peonies on the desk. Patricia pulled out the contract paperwork, her movements precise and practiced. Now for the first Saturday in June, we do have a waiting list, Patricia began. However, since you're prepared to place the deposit today. Waiting list. Vanessa's voice sharpened. I don't do waiting lists. Trevor, tell her. Trevor pulled out his checkbook with a flourish. We're prepared to offer an additional $5,000 to secure the date immediately. Patricia glanced at me again, a question in her eyes that my mother and sister didn't notice. I gave the slightest shake of my head. That won't be necessary, Patricia said smoothly. I believe we can accommodate your preferred date. Let me just verify the calendar. While Patricia stepped away, Vanessa turned to me with a triumphant smile. See? This is what happens when you have real money and connections. You get what you want. I'm happy for you, I said sincerely. Are you though? Vanessa leaned closer. You've always been jealous of me, Elena. The pretty sister, the successful sister. Now I'm getting married in the most exclusive venue in the state while you'll be lucky to book a holiday in conference room. Mom patted Vanessa's hand. Now darling, be kind. Elena's doing the best she can with her limited resources. Not everyone can be exceptional. Something vibrated in my purse. I pulled out my phone to see a text from Patricia's personal cell. Do you want me to decline the booking? I quickly typed back. No. Process it normally. Say nothing. Patricia returned with a warm smile. Good news. The first Saturday in June is available. Let's go over the contract details. For the next 30 minutes, Vanessa negotiated every aspect of the venue rental with the confidence of someone who'd never been told no. She demanded premium linens, exclusive use of the grounds, access to the wine cellar, and a personal assistant for the week of the wedding. Our standard package includes, Patricia began. I don't want standard, Vanessa interrupted. I want the owner's package. Whatever Ms. Williams reserves for her most important clients. I almost laughed but turned it into a cough. I'll need to check on that, Patricia said diplomatically. Check with whom? The mysterious owner. Vanessa rolled her eyes. Honestly, it's a bit pretentious to never show your face to clients. What kind of businesswoman hides behind her staff? I studied my cuticles, counting silently in my head. Ms. Williams is very hands-on, Patricia said, her voice cooling slightly. She personally approves every event and often attends them incognito to ensure quality. Incognito, Mom repeated with a snort. How dramatic. In my day, business owners had the backbone to show their faces. Perhaps she's not that impressive, Vanessa suggested. Probably inherited the place and lets the real professionals run it. I bet she's some frumpy middle-aged woman who wouldn't know elegance if it hit her. I felt my phone buzz again. Another text from Patricia. I'm 5 seconds from telling her everything. I replied, wait. Trevor signed the contract with unnecessary flourish while Vanessa continued her monologue about their wedding vision. I want everything to scream sophistication. No tacky decorations, no budget flowers. Everything imported, everything exclusive. We'll do our best to meet your expectations, Patricia said, her professionalism admirable. Not your best, Vanessa corrected. Your absolute finest. Trevor is paying premium prices and I expect premium service. If your owner has a problem with that, she can tell me herself. Assuming she's capable of communication, Mom added with a laugh. I stood quietly, preparing to leave. I should get going. David's expecting me for dinner. Oh right, David, Vanessa said dismissively. The teacher. What does he make? 40,000 a year. And you're what, 50? That's 90,000 combined. Cute. Trevor makes 300,000 and I pull in 150 with bonuses. We're practically a different species financially. Different species, I repeated softly. That's one way to put it. Don't take it personally, sweetie, Mom said, touching my arm with false sympathy. You chose a simpler life. There's no shame in being ordinary. Vanessa leaned back in her chair, surveying the office like a queen on her throne. You know what, Elena? Since I'm feeling generous, I'll give you some advice. Don't try to compete with this. Find a nice little barn venue or a restaurant backroom. Have a small wedding with 50 guests, serve chicken instead of filet mignon, and accept your limitations. You'll be much happier when you stop trying to reach above your station. Above my station, I echoed. Exactly. Vanessa nodded enthusiastically. Know your place in life. I'm the successful daughter who made something of herself. You're the mediocre one who did the bare minimum. That's just how it is. Mom squeezed Vanessa's shoulder proudly. My brilliant girl. You've always been so clear-eyed about reality. I picked up my purse, catching Patricia's eye one final time. She looked like she was ready to explode, but I smiled peacefully and headed toward the door. Elena, Vanessa called out, her voice dripping with mock concern. Please don't embarrass yourself by trying to book anything here. Patricia, if my sister calls about pricing, just tell her it's out of her range. Save everyone the awkwardness. Patricia's jaw tightened. I'll handle any inquiries appropriately. You can't even afford the consultation fee, Vanessa continued, laughing. What is it, $500 just to get pricing? That's probably your grocery budget for a month. I paused at the door, my hand on the ornate handle I'd selected from a catalog of Italian imports. You're right, Vanessa. I couldn't possibly afford this place. Finally, some self-awareness. Mom clapped her hands together. That's my realistic daughter. Now go find something suitable for your actual life. I stepped into the hallway, pulling out my phone as I walked toward the parking lot. The afternoon sun warmed my face as I scrolled through my contacts, stopping at Patricia Work Cell. Before I could dial, my phone rang. Patricia's name flashed on the screen. Ms. Williams. Patricia's voice was tight with barely controlled anger. I'm in the restroom. I had to leave before I said something unprofessional. Are you absolutely certain you want to proceed with this booking? Process everything normally, I confirmed, leaning against my car. Standard contract, standard terms. But your own sister Patricia's voice cracked. I've worked for you for 3 years and I've never wanted to violate client confidentiality more than right now. I know. She called you mediocre. Your mother said you were ordinary. And they're booking your venue while insulting you to your face. I noticed. Patricia took a deep breath. What do you want me to do? I watched a pair of doves land near the fountain I'd commissioned from a sculptor in Florence. Give them everything they asked for. Premium package, personal assistant, exclusive ground access. Make it perfect. You're going to let them have their wedding at your estate after they treated you like that? I'm going to let them book it, I corrected. What happens after that depends entirely on them. Silence on the other end, then Patricia's voice came back with a note of understanding. You're planning something. I'm not planning anything. I'm simply going to continue being myself. I unlocked my car. Process the booking, Patricia. And thank you for your professionalism today. I know it wasn't easy. It was the hardest thing I've ever done, she admitted. But Ms. Williams, Elena, they're going to find out eventually. Yes, I agreed. They are. I ended the call and drove home to the brownstone I'd purchased 5 years ago, before Belmore Estate, before any of my family knew the extent of my business ventures. David was in the kitchen making his famous lasagna, and the smell of garlic and basil filled our home. How was the venue tour? He asked, kissing my cheek. Illuminating, I said, wrapping my arms around his waist. Vanessa booked Belmore for June. David turned, his eyes widening. Your Belmore? She booked your venue. She doesn't know it's mine. Elena. He studied my face carefully. What are you thinking? I'm thinking, I said slowly, that I'll give her exactly what she asked for. The finest venue, the premium package, the owner's personal attention. And then we'll see what happens when someone realizes they've been standing on the neck of the person who controls everything they want. David knew me well enough not to push further. We ate dinner, discussed his students, talked about our own wedding plans. Simple and intimate, just 40 people at the estate's private garden cottage that I'd never shown my family. 2 weeks later, Vanessa called me at work. I was in my actual office, a converted warehouse downtown that housed my investment firm's headquarters, but I answered from my desk in the small accounting firm where I kept a part-time presence. Elena, I need to talk to you about something important, Vanessa began, her voice unusually serious. What's wrong? Nothing's wrong. Everything's perfect, actually. I've been thinking about what I said at Belmore and I was too harsh. I set down my pen. Okay. I want you to be my maid of honor. The request hung in the air between us. Vanessa, you have 3 best friends who've been planning this role since high school. I know, but you're my sister. And I've been reflecting on our relationship. I think I've been competitive with you for no reason. That's a significant realization. I want to make amends. Say yes to being my maid of honor and I'll help you plan your wedding. I have connections now, Elena. I can get you discounts at vendors, help you find an affordable venue. It's the least I can do. I leaned back in my chair, studying the financial reports spread across my desk. Reports from the 12 businesses I owned, including Belmore Estate. That's very generous. So you'll do it? Can I think about it? Vanessa's voice tightened. Why would you need to think about it? I'm offering you a role of honor in my wedding and help with yours. Most people would be grateful. I am grateful. I just need to check with David about the time commitment. Fine. But Elena? Don't take too long. I need to know by next week so I can order the dresses. And there'll need to be alterations ready because, well, you're not exactly model tall like my friends. After hanging up, I called Patricia. Has my sister made any additional requests? Oh yes, Patricia said wearily. She's called 17 times. She wants to change the flowers, upgrade the linens again, add a champagne wall, import oysters from France and have live swans on the lake. Give her whatever she wants. The swans will cost $8,000 just for rental and handlers. I'm aware. Approve it. She also asked about meeting the owner. She wants to pitch some kind of partnership where she becomes the venue's official wedding planner for her social circle. I laughed despite myself. What did you tell her? That Ms. Williams would consider the proposal and respond in due time. Perfect. String her along. Over the next month, Vanessa called me weekly with wedding updates and increasingly patronizing advice about my own planning. I found this little community center that's only $800, she'd say. It's a bit dated, but you could make it work with the right decorations. Or, David's salary is so modest. Have you thought about asking guests to contribute to a honeymoon fund instead of giving gifts? It's less tacky than you'd think. My favorite was, I'm learning so much about event planning through my Belmore experience. Maybe I could turn this into a side business. The owner still hasn't responded to my proposal, but I'm sure she will once she sees the caliber of clients I could bring. I attended every dress fitting, every cake tasting, every venue walkthrough. I watched Vanessa treat vendors with casual dismissiveness, saw her make Patricia's staff run in circles for every minor whim, observed her throw small tantrums when things weren't immediately perfect. Mom joined us for most events, and her commentary became a background hum of casual cruelty. Elena, you're not seriously wearing that to the tasting, are you? And maybe don't sample too much cake, honey, you've put on weight. And, it's so nice that David doesn't mind that you're the less attractive sister. 3 months before the wedding, Vanessa called with breathless excitement. Elena, the most amazing thing happened. Patricia called to say Ms. Williams, the actual owner, wants to meet with me. Really? I put my meeting notes aside. Yes. Apparently she's impressed with how I've handled the planning and wants to discuss my proposal personally. This could be huge for me. Can you imagine? Wedding planner to the elite, operating out of the most prestigious venue in the state. When's the meeting? Next Tuesday at 2. Will you come with me? I want you to see your big sister closing a major business deal. It might inspire you to think bigger. I checked my calendar, which showed a board meeting for one of my tech investments. I'll make it work. Tuesday arrived with perfect spring weather. I dressed in my usual understated style. Tailored pants, simple blouse, minimal jewelry. Vanessa wore a designer suit and enough perfume to announce her presence from the parking lot. Patricia met us in the lobby, her expression carefully neutral. Ms. Williams is ready for you in the executive office. The executive office, Vanessa whispered to me as we walked. See? She knows quality when she sees it. We climbed the curved staircase to the second floor, an area of the estate I'd converted to administrative offices. My personal office occupied the corner with views of both the gardens and the lake. Patricia opened the door and gestured us inside. Please have a seat. The office was exactly as I'd left it that morning. My diplomas on the wall from Columbia Business School, photos from the properties I'd renovated, awards from the city's business association. My desk held neat stacks of documents, a laptop and the fountain pen my father had given me before he died. Vanessa settled into one of the leather chairs facing the desk. This is nice. A bit masculine for a woman's office, but nice. I moved to the window, looking out at the gardens where David and I would be married in 6 weeks. I wonder what she's like, Vanessa continued. Patricia's been so secretive. I hope she's reasonable about my proposal. I'm offering her a fantastic opportunity. The door opened and Patricia stepped inside. Thank you for waiting. Ms. Williams apologizes for the slight delay. Vanessa waved dismissively. That's fine. I understand busy schedules. Patricia walked to the desk, picked up a file folder and turned to face us. Actually, Ms. Williams has been here the entire time. She looked directly at me. Would you like to sit down? I smiled at Patricia and moved behind the desk, settling into my chair. Thank you, Patricia. I think we're ready to begin. The silence that followed was exquisite. Vanessa stared at me, then at Patricia, then back at me. What is this? Some kind of joke? No joke, I said calmly, opening the folder. Patricia said you wanted to meet with the owner of Belmore Estate. I'm Elena Williams. I own this venue. That's not funny, Elena. Vanessa looked at Patricia for confirmation that this was a prank. Patricia remained impassive. Ms. Williams purchased this property 4 years ago. She personally oversees all operations, manages 12 other businesses, and has a net worth of approximately $40 million. Her primary income comes from commercial real estate investment and development. Mom, who'd been sitting silently in shock, finally spoke. That's impossible. Elena is a bookkeeper. I work part-time as a bookkeeper at a small firm because I enjoy the simplicity of it, I explained. It's meditative. My actual profession is commercial real estate investment and development. I own the firm where I keep those books, along with 11 other businesses. Vanessa's face had gone pale. You're lying. This is some elaborate prank because I hurt your feelings. I pulled out my phone and opened my banking app, turning the screen to face her. The balance showed 8 figures. This is just one of my business accounts. No. Vanessa stood abruptly. No, this is insane. You drive a Honda Civic. You live in a tiny apartment. I live in a 4,000 square foot brownstone worth $2 million. I drive a Civic because it's reliable and I don't need to impress anyone. And you've never actually visited my home, so you wouldn't know. Patricia pulled out her tablet. Would you like me to go over the estate's financials? Or perhaps show the ownership documents filed with the county? Mom's hands trembled as she gripped her purse. Why would you hide this from us? I didn't hide it. You never asked. You assumed I was struggling because I didn't flaunt my success, and that assumption revealed everything I needed to know about how you value people. Vanessa sank back into her chair. The entire time. You owned this venue the entire time, and you let us say exactly what you thought, I finished. Yes. But why? Tears formed in Vanessa's eyes. Why would you humiliate me like this? I haven't humiliated you, Vanessa. I processed your booking, gave you everything you asked for, and provided excellent service through Patricia's team. The only humiliation you're feeling is from the realization that you built your entire self-worth on a false premise. Mom found her voice. This is cruel, Elena. Letting us believe you were poor, letting us feel sorry for you. You never felt sorry for me, I interrupted, my voice still calm. You felt superior to me. There's a difference. And I never said I was poor. I said I worked as a bookkeeper and was marrying a teacher. Both true statements. You added your own interpretations. Patricia cleared her throat. Should I explain the current status of the booking? Please, I said. Ms. Vanessa Williams has a confirmed reservation for the first Saturday in June, with a contract for the premium owner's package. The deposit is non-refundable and the balance is due 30 days before the event. As of today, the full balance of $147,000 is outstanding. Vanessa's eyes widened. $147,000? You requested numerous upgrades, Patricia continued, reading from her tablet. French imported oysters, live swans, premium imported linens, exclusive ground access, the owner's wine cellar, a personal assistant for the week of the event, upgraded lighting packages, and a custom floral installation requiring flowers from 4 different countries. It's all itemized in your contract. I can't afford that, Vanessa whispered. Trevor and I combined have saved $80,000 for the wedding. That's everything we have. I pulled out the contract sheet signed. You represented that cost was no issue. That you wanted everything that screamed sophistication. Mom leaned forward. Elena, you can give her a discount. She's your sister. Can I? I looked at Patricia. What's our policy on discounts? Belmore Estate does not offer family discounts, Patricia said without missing a beat. In fact, given the additional demands Ms. Williams has made on staff time, 17 phone calls, 11 revised vendor orders, 3 complete redesigns of the floral plan, we typically charge an administrative fee for high-maintenance clients. How much is that fee? I asked. 20% of the total contract value. In this case, approximately $29,000. Vanessa stood again, her chair scraping against the hardwood floor. You can't do this. I can't. I tilted my head. Why not? Because we're family? You spent 3 months telling me I was mediocre, ordinary, and that I needed to know my place. You suggested I was jealous of your success. You offered to help me find affordable venues because you felt sorry for my limited resources. Now you're asking me for special treatment based on a relationship you've spent years diminishing. I didn't mean any of that, Vanessa said desperately. I was just being competitive. Sisters do that. No, Vanessa. Sisters support each other. What you did was establish a hierarchy where you believed yourself superior and me beneath you. The only thing that's changed is which one of us actually holds the power. Mom's voice shook. So this is revenge. You're going to bankrupt your sister over hurt feelings. I'm not bankrupting anyone. Vanessa signed a contract for services she requested. She can honor that contract, or she can cancel per the terms she agreed to, which means forfeiting the $15,000 deposit and owing a cancellation fee of 30% of the total contract value. Patricia did the mental math. That would be approximately $59,000 total. Vanessa collapsed back into the chair, her carefully constructed composure crumbling. I don't have that kind of money. Even if Trevor and I use our entire wedding savings, we'd still be short. Then I suppose you need to make a choice, I said simply. Honor your contract and have your dream wedding at a venue you can't actually afford, or cancel and lose a substantial portion of your savings. Either way, the decision is yours. What do you want from me? Vanessa's mascara was running now. An apology? I'm sorry, okay? I'm sorry I said those things. I don't want anything from you. I closed the folder. I wanted you to understand what it feels like to be on the other side of dismissive superiority. To realize that the person you considered beneath you actually controlled everything you wanted. That's not revenge, Vanessa. That's education. Mom stood, trying to muster her authoritative parenting voice. Elena Williams, I am your mother, and I am telling you to void this contract immediately. You're my mother, I agreed. A mother who has spent years making it clear that you value Vanessa more than me because she fit your definition of success. Do you remember my college graduation from Columbia? Mom's face flickered with uncertainty. You didn't come, I continued. Vanessa had a work event, a happy hour with her marketing team, and you said that was more important than my graduation. When I bought my first property at 26, I invited you to the ribbon cutting. You said you had a hair appointment. I didn't realize that it mattered, or that I was successful. Because those are two very different things, Mom. Patricia's phone buzzed. He glanced at it, then at me. The Hendersons are here for their 3 o'clock consultation. Thank you, Patricia. We're just finishing up. I stood, smoothing my blouse. Vanessa, you have until the end of business today to make a decision about your contract. Either commit to the full payment plan or file for cancellation. Patricia will handle either choice professionally. Vanessa wiped her eyes, smearing her mascara further. And what about you? Are you going to tell everyone? Make sure all my friends know that my little sister is actually some real estate mogul who humiliated me? I'm not going to tell anyone anything. Your choices are your own business. But Vanessa. I waited until she looked at me. The next time you assume someone is beneath you because they don't flaunt their success, remember this moment. Mom gathered her purse with shaking hands. I can't believe you treat your family this way. The way you treated me? I asked quietly. With dismissiveness and condescension? Or the way you thought I deserved to be treated? With patience and professional courtesy? Neither of them had an answer. Patricia escorted them out and I heard Vanessa crying as they descended the stairs. I returned to the window, watching them exit through the main entrance. They stood by Vanessa's car for several minutes, arguing based on their gestures, before driving away separately. My phone rang 20 minutes later. David's name appeared on the screen. Your sister called me, he said without preamble. She's hysterical. She wants me to convince you to give her a discount. What did you tell her? I told her that you were the most generous person I knew, but that generosity should never be mistaken for weakness. He paused. She also called me a struggling teacher, who married above his station. Even while asking for help, she couldn't resist being condescending. I smiled despite myself. Did you tell her about your family trust? No. Let her think what she wants. I get why you work as a bookkeeper now. There's something peaceful about being underestimated. There is, I agreed. At 4:30, Patricia called. She canceled. Paid the cancellation fee with a bank loan from what I can tell. Trevor looked devastated. And the partnership proposal? Withdrawn. She asked me to forward a written apology to you. Did you read it? I may have glanced at it, Patricia admitted. It was very sorry you were offended rather than sorry I was cruel. That sounds about right. Patricia hesitated. For what it's worth, I've never been prouder to work for someone. Watching you maintain your composure while they said those things. Thank you, Patricia. That means a lot. So what now? I looked out at the gardens where my own intimate wedding would take place. Now we get back to work. The Hendersons need an event coordinator, and I have a board meeting at 6. Just another day at Belmore Estate, Patricia said with a smile in her voice. Just another day. 3 weeks later, I received a card in the mail. Vanessa's handwriting, but steadier than usual. Elena, I've spent weeks trying to write this and nothing sounds right. I can't apologize enough for how I treated you. Not just at the venue but for years. You were right. I built my self-worth on the idea that I was better than you, and losing that illusion has been devastating. Trevor and I are getting married at a small restaurant. We've invited 40 people. Mom keeps crying about the embarrassment, but honestly it feels more authentic than the spectacle I was planning. I don't expect your forgiveness, but I want you to know that I'm trying to become someone who deserves a sister like you. Congratulations on your wedding next month. I wasn't invited and I understand why. I hope you and David have everything you deserve. V. I placed the card on my desk, next to the invitation list for my own wedding. After a moment I picked up my phone. Patricia? Add one more couple to the guest list. My sister Vanessa and her fiancé Trevor. Email me their address and I'll send an invitation today. Are you sure? Patricia asked. I looked at the card again, at the shaky handwriting that betrayed how hard this had been to write. She needs to see what treating people with genuine respect looks like. Even when you have every reason not to. That's very gracious of you. No, I corrected. That's what family should be. And maybe it's time I showed her how that works. My wedding was exactly what David and I wanted. Intimate, meaningful, and held in the private garden cottage that most clients never knew existed. Vanessa and Trevor arrived quietly, sitting in the back row. She wore a simple dress and no jewelry except her engagement ring. When our eyes met, she smiled sadly and mouthed thank you. At the reception, she approached me carefully. Your venue is even more beautiful than I realized. The personal touches, the garden you designed, the cottage you restored, it's not just elegant. It's authentic. That's what happens when you build something for meaning rather than status, I said gently. She nodded, tears forming. I'm learning that. Slowly. Mom joined us, her expression uncertain. Elena, I owe you an apology too. I let ambition and social standing color how I saw you. I'm ashamed it took this to make me realize that you were successful all along, just not in the ways I was taught to recognize. I hugged them both, feeling the years of tension begin to ease. We're all learning, I said. That's what matters. As the sun set over the lake I'd restored, as David held me close on the deck I'd designed, as 40 of our closest friends and family celebrated around us, I realized that this quiet triumph of authentic connection, was worth more than any dramatic revelation. Vanessa pulled me aside before leaving. I still don't understand why you invited me. After everything. I smiled, squeezing her hand. Because you wrote that card. Because you're trying. And because the point was never to destroy you, Vanessa. It was to help you understand that treating people with dignity isn't dependent on their bank balance or their job title. I'm really trying, she whispered. To be better. I know. And that's why you're here. She left with Trevor, waving from their car, and I returned to my wedding. My real life, built not on assumptions or status or superiority, but on the quiet confidence of knowing exactly who I was and never needing to prove it. The venue I'd built. The man I'd chosen. The family I was teaching slowly to see people for who they truly were rather than what they appeared to be. Sometimes the greatest power isn't in the dramatic reveal. It's in the choice to extend grace after you've already proven your point. And that, I'd learned, was the only kind of success that actually mattered.